Hey, here we are again. The Last Angry DJ, show number 81. We've made it this far. It's been a year and a half, I guess, that we've been doing this, and we're so happy that you've come to join us. My name is Mitchell K.C. Hill. That means I'm the old guy that's occasionally angry, and the younger guy who's from way up north, Mr. Alexander Knight, is here with us, our producer, and his half-hearted smile. You know, that
good
is
to be
a
here,
half-hearted
Mitch.
smile.
I almost never fully smile, but it's good to be here for episode 81. This is The Last Angry DJ, and this is the show that intersects old media versus new media. We interview luminaries in the world of broadcast and talk about our ongoing challenges, everyone from ex-DJs to salespeople, entrepreneurs, marketing people, all that sort of stuff, program directors, all those types of people. But unlike Iron Chef, it's not about whose industry reigns supreme. It is about discussing the ongoing challenges that we're all facing. That is a recurring theme on this show. I'm going to introduce Mark Giuliani, who's an important person on our panel here. How's it going, Mark?
How are you, Alex? Good to see you. Good to see you, Mitch. We've got an interesting show lined up today, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We need some questions, so please reach us at ask.thelastangrydj.com. That's ask.thelastangrydj.com. And Mitch, what do we have coming up this week, and who's our guest next week?
Well, this week you're stuck with us, so that's the best we can do. But next week, Gary Berkowitz will be back with us, returning champion, expert consultant on various formats of radio, particularly classic hits and adult contemporary. So we're always glad to hear from Gary because he's one of those thinkers, one of those deep thinkers about what's going on in the business. We'd like to keep in touch with him, so he'll be in next week. And the cool thing now, as Mark was indicating, is that as soon as this show wraps, you can start asking questions for next week's guest if you want to, just by doing that, ask.thelastangrydj.com. Go there. It'll automatically take you into Mukanas we've been talking about. All right, here we are. We're gathered together. We like to call this the broadcast Boffins version of the show. I ask Alex every time, what the heck is a Boffin? But apparently that's who he is. So there we go. We're Boffins here. And before I get started, I spent the day at the AT&T store. My classic 6E iPhone finally just said, that's it. That's all I can do. 10 years, and that's it. I'm giving up. And the battery went absolutely crazy. It just wouldn't charge properly, or it would say it was charged, and then the next second it would say it was stuck at zero. So, gang, Alex in particular, I was at the AT&T store, and guess what I got? You're supposed to say...
Oh, my.
There you go. Oh, my. Thank you very much. In the best of the Sula. I got me a blue. This is a, I guess this is the 16 Pro. Can you
Nice.
tell from...
It's hard to tell
what it is?
just by... Oh, yeah, there we go. It's good color.
That's,
You know, it matches your shirt, but I'm sure that wasn't planned at all.
I'm the blue man. So that's it. So I
He's
got
got
this.
blue lights, blue shirt, blue phone now. He's the blue man.
It's like the blue is the thing, you know. That's
Yeah.
like blue eyes, you know, it helps. But anyhow, I got to deal with the fact that no more headphone jack. I used to brag about that. I'm going to have to deal with, how do I get my headphones to plug into this? Do I got to go through some kind of a device to get from here?
Mitch, what you need is a USB-C to headphone adapter, which you can get from Apple for $10.
All right, so I should buy an Apple product. So now I got a dongle or something that's going to hang on here.
Yep.
So I got to deal with the dongle. And then the other thing is no more button on the front. So how do I deal with this gizmo at the bottom? It's like a line that runs.
You got to set up Face ID, right? Have you done that?
Yeah, I got that. That was embarrassing. Mm-hmm. I did that in the store, and she's look over here. Now look over here. Now look over here. Is that my best
You got
angle?
some catching. Yeah, Mitch. You got some catching up to do.
I will,
So
and I promise.
Welcome to the 21st century.
So I want to talk to my future self 10 years from now. This is the phone that I bought, and I'm probably going to be still using it 10 years from now. But here we go. I've joined the crowd. It's blue. I picked a cool color. It was either this or hot pink. I went with blue. I thought that was a better choice. And I want to thank Linda from the AT&T store on Concord Pike, Route 202 in Wilmington, Delaware. There's Linda. She took good care of me. As we see, we are now good friends. And I told her, you're now my best buddy. And
Look
when
how
it was all
happy
said,
you are.
I am really happy because I said, you guys have like any tchotchkes, hats, power supplies, cables, giveaways? And she said, I have this fine-looking AT&T bag just for you. So here I am. Whoops. There's my double punch on my ATEM. You ever get that problem with your ATEM? It double punches? It double punches. I want the one with the new buttons on. So anyhow, thank you, Linda. She said she'd be watching the show. You can catch up with her. She's right there at the AT&T store on 202 in Wilmington, Delaware. She's a New Yorker by way of Virginia, back to Delaware, single mom. And believe it or not, she's in her 60s. I just swooned when I said, you can't possibly be that old. But she said, hey,
she looks younger.
But yeah, she does. She looks a lot
20 years younger.
Yeah, she seriously does. And she's a single mom. And she said, look, you have any issues, any problems, just give me a shout. So I got her card. And I've got a new friend at the AT&T store, which is right next to a barbecue joint that I like called Mission Barbecue. So here I am, stepping into the 21st century from the 19th century. A double punch is driving me crazy. So anyhow, maybe I should start getting back to my what is it? The remote control version. Adam Tau's going to yell at me. Mix Effect Pro. Thank you. That's what I need to have. So I've caught up with you guys. I now have a modern. I don't know what to do with the old guy. I asked her, "What's this worth?" Because usually you can trade this in for like $1,100. This thing's worth nothing. She said, "Nothing, honey. Zero. Too old." She said most people just kill it and turn it into a music player. So that's what I'm going to do. So I got through that. And what was the other thing that happened? I have this device. It's a Barracks. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a music player, and I have it in a friend's store. And I had to redo the USB stick to put new music on it. I had the damnedest time finding out that this thing wants a FAT32 or FAT16 USB flash drive in it, and it won't take a modern formatted thumb drive, which I guess is USB 3.0, and it might be 32-bit or 16-bit. There's a there used to be a limit to the size of 4 gigabytes, I guess it was. Anyhow, nothing I would do would make it work. And guess what? I found that I could still format a FAT16, not my PC, not going into PowerShell or Command or some hidden my Apple Macintosh. I just plugged it into my my M1 Mac. And it said, do you want to format this as this, or this? And one of the selections was MS-DOS FAT16, they said. And it did it in a flash. So, here I am scouring the Windows documents to find a way to do it. I thought I had it. I didn't have it. And then I just went to the good old Macintosh, and there it was. So I solved that problem. So keep it in mind, stuff isn't always backwards compatible. If you're having problems with your flash drive, like in a music player, consider a FAT16 or even a FAT32 if it's more than 4 gigabytes. So that's my my technical whatever for the weekend. All right. Let's get into the discussion here. We got to talk about this because it's top of the mind for everybody in the broadcasting industry. But Jimmy Kimmel being, we got a new name for him, being fired from ABC, from doing his late night show because of the comments that he made about the individual who got shot. I don't want to get into details about that, but I do want to talk a little bit about the fact that Kimmel got fired from ABC. He's gone. He is off the air, and there are a number of reasons why that may have happened. I tend to agree with the people that are saying this is not cancel culture. This isn't a comedian saying something that's uncomfortable or off color for some particular reason. This is literally censorship from the U.S. government saying, we don't like what these late night shows are saying about us, therefore we're going to put pressure on them to get rid of them. So ABC, they canceled them. They caved. So where does this stop? Does this continue, this type of censorship? Apparently, the FCC is involved in some of this stuff. Now, I remember, way back when I went to the FCC to get my license so that I could be on the radio, and they had people that went out there and verified that you were doing everything correctly at the station, that you were on frequency, and you were doing this and you're doing that correctly. That's, where they kind of drew the line at what their responsibilities are. For the FCC now to get involved in the censorship of a show because, some particular political pundit, maybe the president, doesn't like what's being said. Therefore, let's add some pressure and let's shut him down. I say shame on you, ABC, Disney, for letting Jimmy Kimmel go. Comedians and people that have commentary about presidents is an age-old tradition here in the United States to parody or to comment on a sitting president. It's just done. It's been done. Why now? Mark, you're shaking your head. You may have the opposing point of view here.
First of all, the FCC does not have any say in the programming of an FCC licensee.
I agree, but they intimated it. No, look at these numbers. This is from the New York Post, which is owned by Fox, but listen to these numbers. According to monthly Nielsen figures, Jimmy Kimmel Live dropped to just 1.1 million views in August of 25, down 43% from January. Now, well, why didn't they just say we fired him because he's not performing?
Wait a minute. They didn't say they fired him. They said he's been put on suspension.
Oh, God. Well, whatever.
So, whatever. But just listen to this. What we don't know in this article is this something that happens every year? The numbers start out strong in January, people are on vacation in August, and the numbers drop for everybody in August. We don't know that. NBC's Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon's numbers are lagging at 1.37 million. Comedy Central's numbers went up. Gutfeld's numbers went up, even though he's a slightly different time slot. He has 2.76 million viewers, so double what the other people have. The other interesting thing is, you've been talking about this in the past, the people making the most are the first to go. Kimmel was making $15 to $20 million, depending on his bonus structure, and that's a lot of money in an industry that's competing
Colbert
against.
was making more money. It cost more.
They could have been,
to do
but
that show.
it's still $20 million.
Yeah,
is a lot of money to be paying somebody when the competition from all other forms of media is getting heavier and heavier against broadcast TV.
I think you're right.
TV's advertising was down.
Wait a minute. You're talking about something that has nothing to do with what I asked. I asked, why is there censorship going on? It has nothing to do with the numbers, unless they choose to make it. But they're saying they don't like what he said about this individual. And I don't want to repeat.
Trump said that. And it doesn't matter what the FCC says.
It just intimated that he has that kind of hammer he can wield and fight back at the national media if he doesn't like what they're saying. And I think that's censorship. I don't think that's cancel culture. I think they're showing that that's some kind of censorship. Maybe ABC has bigger fish to fry down the line. It has nothing to do with the numbers on the show. Maybe so. But I think that they should stand up and say, we're canceling the show because it's not performing to our expectations. I mean, I can accept that as an answer. But I think show that you're canceling because of the content of the program, that's a different matter altogether.
Well, there's a whole nother story. Let me finish this one point. There's a whole nother story that says he was told to apologize. When they read the apology, they said no way, because he was doubling down. So who knows what was going on behind the scenes? We don't know.
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, and I agree with Mark. There are a lot of unknowns here, and we may never truly know the exact reason. This could have been, maybe if his numbers were going down for a while now, maybe this kind of just pushed it over the edge as a decision for them. But I do feel that this is a really, if there was pressure from the government, and if that was what forced their hand to do it, I mean, I think that they're kind of spineless, the network, for doing this. And this is just getting into really dangerous territory, that we have someone that can exert that kind of influence on you know what? Doesn't matter if you're a fan of Jimmy Kimmel or not, whether you found what he said funny or not. That doesn't matter. The point is, this is freedom of expression to say these things. And by the way, he didn't specifically attack or say anything about the guy that died. He was specifically attacking government. So, it seems suspect to me that a comedian that is well respected at that level that Jimmy Kimmel is at can say something, and then the next thing you know, his show is done. That's really weird to me.
Well, they seem to be playing that's what the reasoning behind the firing or cancellation or whatever you want. Whatever, they can change it to whatever Orwellian phrase that they wish to charge. It's censorship. And like Alex just said, we have to be hyper vigilant about this kind of thing happening, particularly if it's due to pressure coming from a presidential individual or somebody in politics, et cetera. I mean, there are lots of reasons you can get fired. And I was in the business at a time when you would get fired because you didn't have enough viewers or not enough listeners. And that's a legitimate reason to let him go. They're running a business. But to use the excuse that they didn't like what he said, that it was inappropriate language, or there's a lot of people. Look at Howard Stern when he was on terrestrial radio. He said inappropriate things all the time, enough so that even the FCC had to get involved with fines because it is indicated if you say bad stuff that you have to accommodate your listeners and make corrections. I don't think they stepped out and said, Howard Stern, you're fired. You can't be on broadcast radio anymore. I don't think they said. I think he just got tired of defending all of these accusations that were being made. Well, frankly, it was part of his listenership. Let's listen to Howard today to see the next thing he does, just to be controversial. So you were saying, Alex?
Yeah, and I think that is, I'm glad you brought that history with Howard Stern and what happened to him on terrestrial radio, because, look how hard it was to try to get him off the air. They couldn't even get him off the air. So that's why, to me, I find this very suspect that if you consider the current regime that's in office and what he's saying on social media about, Jimmy Kimmel, this and that, his numbers, he's failing, he's not funny with this and that, whatever he said on social media. That's why I find it extremely interesting that suddenly the next thing you know, his show is canceled.
Well,
right?
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
One of the things that's interesting about ABC as a network, unlike other networks that do own some of the local stations, apparently ABC doesn't. And so they had a large number of their shows, of the companies that pick up that syndicated show, say, we're not going to air it anymore. It doesn't appeal to our listeners. So there's a whole nother element to this that we should talk about, and that is, what is the power of local media?
All networks have to deal with what they call affiliates. And, they're not all owned and operated, but there are some in major cities. Most of the companies own, like ABC owns Channel 6 in Philadelphia. ABC is owned by Disney. And in other markets, there may be other situations where they're independently owned. And it's been an ongoing thing where an affiliate refuses to carry an episode or a series because they don't like the cut of their jib, so to speak. Like back when Star Trek was being shown, the first interracial kiss between Uhura and Captain Kirk was censured by affiliates across the country, and they refused to run that particular episode. That's their privilege. You're allowed to do that. But the network didn't make that decision. The FCC didn't make that decision. The standards, rights and standards of the motion picture industry didn't make that decision. A little bit different. But you're right. Some stations there are more independently owned affiliates than there are necessarily owned and operated. And at one point, there was a limit to the number of stations a company could own until the deregulation happened in the late 90s, where they are able to own pretty much all of them if they want to. But we're just concerned about censorship and where is it coming from. It's a bad direction. There's no particular specifics that we can stick our finger on and say, but at this point, we don't like the direction this is taking. And if it's being followed up by continuing examples, then we have to be upset. On a completely different note, Mark, you're absolutely right. The numbers for late night television as we know it on terrestrial television have not been good. They're certainly not even close to the kind of numbers that, like, for example, the Ed
I
Sullivan
just think that's
show.
a sign that people don't want to watch that stuff.
Yeah, they don't watch it.
They're not watching
They don't
TV.
like linear TV anymore.
No,
they don't
they
like to watch. They don't want to watch an hour's worth of Jimmy Kimmel or Stephen Colbert in order to see a funny bit happen between him and Josh Brolin. They would
And I'm
much
sure
rather
the
go to YouTube and
I'm
see
sure the
that
Tonight
short.
Show is in trouble too.
Yeah, they all are, because they don't have near the number of listeners or viewers that they had back in the early days. Like I was saying, for comparison purposes, Ed Sullivan had 30-some million people watching every Sunday night. I guess he was an NBC affiliate at the time. That was a huge, 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 huge number. Today, somebody that has 2 million is a big-time broadcaster. I think Jimmy Kimmel had 2 point something in terms of people that were watching it. And if they canceled him because of the viewership and the cost to run that program versus the income they were getting, I understand it. It's a business, and they have to run it accordingly. But they use a completely different excuse of censorship and other things like that. I got to say something at that point. And I've had people say to me, Mitch, you're not really jumping all over this as much as you should. What are you going to do about it? And I'd say, as any citizen of this country, I don't know how it is in Canada, Alex, maybe we should hear what you have to say. But anyhow, what I'm saying is you got to shine a light on something that you don't think is right. If something happens you don't think is right, you don't have a specific way to fight it, because we can't sue Disney for canceling one of their shows for any reason, I guess. But on the other hand, if we all raise our hand and say we don't like what's happening here, we're not necessarily asking for you to reinstate him, but we are saying for you to come clean. That you have bigger fish to fry with a political pundit or personage, and you're doing something to accommodate them. To me, that's a little bit of a conflict of interest. That's censorship that goes against free speech. It's not part of our Constitution. It's not the way this country was made. So,
100% agree with you, and I have a lot more to say on this, but let's go to Mark.
Okay, Mark.
Well, I agree too on the censorship. However, listen to these numbers for a second. 29%.
Enough with the numbers, Mark.
29% of the 29% of the affiliates canceled their show. So what do you do if you're ABC and 29% of your 29% of the shows that you syndicate to say no more, we're done?
When was that? Do we have a timeline? Was that before
yes. Hang on. This is all from ChatGPT, so let's take it for what it's worth. But it says that
it's got to be right.
It's never
on the
wrong.
internet.
No.
ChatGPT
I know. Here are the numbers for ABC affiliates. We went through that. 28 ABC affiliates from Nexstar. Sinclair had 38. Together, it makes up 29%.
Okay.
Hang on. It was before the FCC. They made their move according to this before the FCC.
So it sounds like his show.
I don't think that the FCC chair should have said what he said.
It sounds like his show's going downhill as far as the numbers are concerned. So I understand this.
A different issue.
This is mostly. This is obviously mostly business driven, and my suspicion, and I can't say this with certainty, is that the. I'm not saying that Trump had no effect on this decision, but I'm just saying that there may be. It also may be getting blown out of proportion too. I'm just saying that's a possibility.
Yeah.
That it may not just be that. It's probably the fact that, like you said, Mitch, he's being, he has a massive salary, and the numbers have been going down. And look, no offense to Jimmy Kimmel, I like Jimmy Kimmel, but I think it's the format of those shows and linear TV. Going back to our discussion, this is a topic we always talk about: old media versus new media. This stuff is going away. All these shows are in trouble. Linear media writ large is at trouble, and I think that's really the underlying issue that we are talking about. And I want to play devil's advocate for a sec, because if you are, say, ABC, let's say you are getting pressure from the government saying, oh, this guy's got to go, whatever, right? So, and you're getting pressure from affiliates, and you're getting pressure from all these people. Do you let that one show take down your entire network in terms of the reputation, or do you rip that Band-Aid off, cut ties with that show so you can save the rest of the regime. Remember that there are a lot of people employed at ABC. It's not just Jimmy Kimmel and his crew. There are a lot of people. So they also, the people running that network, have to consider the reputation of the entire network and everybody else employed that has a job right now.
And that's a good point. And I think what that brings up is, and I don't know the answer to this, so this is more a question towards Mitch. If you're a network and you have X amount of commercials you have to play, ads you have to play, and your downstream says, we're done, you're not getting paid for that advertising. I don't know what the penalties are for those downstream syndicators that say, we're out of here. There's, I guess that's contract by contract, how that's written. But at the same time, they're turning around, ABC's turning around upstream saying, where's our money? And they're saying, we're not paying you. You didn't deliver. Right.
I hate to keep bringing this point up, but I'm not questioning whether a company like ABC Disney has the right to cancel a show based on bad performance or bad ratings or any number of things. I am questioning if they go out and they stand up and say, we're shutting them down for censorship reasons. To me, that concerns me. I don't think people have the right to do those kind of censorship issues. So I just want to make sure we separate these numbers and poor performance from the issue of, is he being censored or not? I think the jury is still out on whether or not it really truly is about censorship or some fish to fry. Here's the irony of the whole thing. Jimmy Kimmel's been with Disney for 10 years, maybe 20, going on 20 years. I don't know, something like that. He has always been a straight shooter with them, has represented the brand very well. He's been a really good upfront representative of their organization and their values. He doesn't seem to bite the hand that feeds them. And I'll use him as an example. David Letterman always bit the hand that fed him because that was part of his shtick. But Jimmy Kimmel really never seemed to step on Disney as part of his ongoing thing. But now Disney has thrown him under the bus. That's what I have an issue with. I think that's what a lot of other people in the industry have an issue with. I think comedians in general are fed up with the whole Me Too, cancel culture, censorship issue. They're ultra sensitive because their stock and trade is picking and poking fun at politicians and individuals that may consider to be bad taste. Watch a Comedy Central roast sometime when they're picking on each other. There is no holds barred when they go and they say the stuff that they do and do what they do. But the context is it's a roast. That's the whole term of it. And comedians, it's an age-old job to pick fun at political figures and parody them and pick on them and do. It's just been done for so very long. I mean, even Reagan used to laugh at some of the things, and they do a National Press Club dinner once a year where the Press Association comes in and they bring the comedians in and they do their little thing on them. And they, a lot of guys will smile and take it with a grain of salt. I'm just saying we need to be vigilant about censorship and First Amendment rights because they seem to be monkeyed with right now, and I don't like that. And I don't want to get into a big political brouhaha. I just want to shine a little light on it and say it's okay to have an opinion and comment on it. And Mark, I'm not disputing the numbers and that rationale, but that isn't what we're arguing here. We're not arguing the numbers. We're arguing the content of one of the shows.
Well, I think we should turn this into an argument over whether or not Don Rickles was very polite to Reagan.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at it. You just mess with my negative waves here. So we were talking about Kelly's Heroes before the show went on. So we loved him. And, Rickles was a classic put-down comic, but that was what it was all about. So anyhow, let's get to some of the chat comments that are popping in right now. It might be interesting to hear what they have to say.
Hang on one moment,
Alex,
please.
You said you had some chat comments.
Yeah, I think Mark's going to he's going to bring in whoever's talking in the chat, which we have, we got some people watching live. Jerry Hoyle, Mark, has something to say. You got that?
Okay, hang on. I got it
Under
right here. In an interview, the FCC chairman said he didn't like the political comments and things could be done the easy way or the hard way. I think we'll all agree that's probably not something that the FCC chairman should be saying, at least
absolutely
in public,
not. This is not
at all.
This is not the fucking Godfather Part 5. Clemens sleeps with the fishes. But it's like it sounds like a mobster comment, coming from our Federal Communications Commission. Very inappropriate for them to say that. They should fire the FCC. They should cancel their show for saying something that outrageous. But I agree with Jerry. It's a good thing to bring up. And again, shine some light on the reality. That's the only thing we do. And then we get a chance to vote. And we vote for, whatever floats our boat, when the time comes. But that's why we have Mukana here. And they can reach out to us at ask.thelastangrydj.com. You can post your questions right now, whether it's in our chat or if you have an actual question about what this is going. This is pretty heavy-duty stuff that we're talking about here. And I guess I'm complaining about the circumstances that led to Jimmy's firing. I guess the next thing is, when's the other shoe going to drop? Who's next? And there is added pressure, as Mark has so well indicated, because the numbers just aren't there. I mean, I think Colbert's show was the most expensive nighttime show to put. I think it was something like, I don't know, what did they spend? Like $300 million?
$200 million or something. It was a lot.
Yeah, some crazy number. And he gets paid $50 million a year. I sort of held the position that if you're popular and being paid good money, you're on the chopping block in today's world. That's just the way it is. But companies have a right to run their business as a business. They have a fiduciary responsibility, I love using that word, to their stockholders to make sure that they do the best they can with the numbers that they have. And that's why you're seeing a lot of broadcasting organizations letting people go. I don't like it, but they have the right to do it for that reason. They don't have the right, in my opinion, to do it for censorship reasons. Alex?
You know what would be really interesting is if, and I'm surprised they haven't done this, because Conan has done a really good job with his YouTube show and what he does with social media and creating content there. He's really fully embraced the modern day platforms for distributing content. But it would be really interesting to take a format of a show like Jimmy Kimmel's or The Tonight Show or any of those types of shows and put them on YouTube and then ask people to pay for it. I want to see how many people would actually open up their wallets to pay for the shows, for better or worse. It'd be really interesting to see if they could actually make a profit. I mean, they won't make the same kind of money they're making now, but it'd be really interesting to see like how many people really want to pay to see that type of show.
But
that's a good
haven't
point.
they been trying that with Peacock? NBC has been trying it with Peacock, right?
Yeah, but Peacock is Peacock is a platform that has a lot of shows. I'm just saying, loyal fans of the shows, how many people will just pay for Jimmy Kimmel or just pay to see The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon? Like, how many people are going to pay for those individuals? How big of a fan are you? Are you willing to fork over $10 a month for that?
There is a good example of exactly what you're saying. Somebody that was in terrestrial radio, made it to subscription radio on Sirius XM, and that was Howard Stern. He had something like 30 million listeners on his terrestrial radio broadcast, which was syndicated across the country. When he went over to Sirius XM, when Mel Karmazin hired him, I think that they, at their highest, had 2.9 million listeners or subscribers, actual people that were willing to pay for his show to get Howard 100 on their Sirius XM receiver. So there's a good example. Howard has a very strong, loyal audience that follows him around, and they're willing to pay to be able to hear him. Now, his numbers are no longer 2.9 million. I don't know what they actually are. I don't think they're anywhere close to that. But he did have that big deal where he was going to get fired or he was going to quit and not renew his contract. And turns out that he's going to get an extension on his contract and he's going to stay there. I think what is he getting? Like, is it like $50 million a year or something like that? I'm just throwing these numbers around. They mean nothing.
I don't know. It's a lot. It's probably more than that.
But they're paying for him and they're paying for commercials that run on the Howard 100 channel. And they're specifically following him around. Not as many people as he had on the free radio, but certainly people that were willing to pay. Mark?
But to that point, and to Alex's point and suggestion that people pay a la carte, let's say, show by show, isn't Apple doing that with their series? You can pay X amount a month or you can buy per episode, like a 99 cents or whatever. I don't know what the
Yeah,
price is,
you can do that. That is very true. But Mitch, going back to Howard Stern for a second, I don't know what the numbers are. Let's just say I'm just making up a number. Let's say it's not 3 million, it's 1.5 million. I'm paying what, $16 a month for Sirius XM, right? So if you think about that, if you take 1.5 million and multiply it by $16 a month, that's still a lot of money that you can make a very good living. That's $24 million, right? So that could be that's distributed. Obviously, a good chunk of that's going to go to Howard and Robin and the talent, but also the rest. He's got a big staff that he's got to pay. You could still make a pretty good living if you've got that many people that are willing to give you that kind of money every single month, right?
Yeah, I guess he kept the contract going because what else is he going to do? Where would he get the same kind of a platform that he currently has on Sirius XM? Would he go pay-per-view? He tried that.
I think he just likes what he does. I think he just likes what he does. He enjoys doing it. I think
he's getting tired of it. I mean, and maybe we're getting a little tired of the Howard Stern shenanigans because it was always built on that edge of he might get fired any day now in syndication. Maybe the FCC is going to close him down. It was like a story being told on a daily basis. He's safe. He says whatever he wants to on Sirius XM. I think that he's getting a little bit tired of playing that thing, and maybe tired in a good way. In that, for example, I don't think he was great at doing interviews way back when he was on regular radio, because he certainly had enough rock stars and stars from television and screen come on. I saw the Billy Joel interview that he did. It was great. He's doing a great job with it. I think the Howard of today is better than the Howard of yesterday.
100%
doing interviews, and maybe
he's better
that's
than ever. He's better than he's ever. He has more patience, and he doesn't do so much shtick with his guests in the sense that he's genuinely being authentic. He's interested. He's listening. He's interested in that person. Whereas when he was younger, it was, what can I do? I got to get these ratings.
Yeah, where's the gag in this?
And he doesn't. Sure. And really, the best thing that he did was moving away from terrestrial and going to Sirius, because it really freed him. And he's even. I'm not making this up. He said this. It really freed him to do what he wanted and to take his time with stuff.
Yeah, he didn't have somebody in Washington saying you can do this, you can't do that. I'm sure he rallied against that, or railed against that would be the proper word. And I agree 100% what you just said, Alex. And God knows how long he's going to continue doing it. Money's a very interesting motivator for a lot of people. I would do a lot of things that are against my character for the right amount of money. I'm not a flag waving, conspirator in some kind of plan. I'll do what I can. But right now I'm giving you my honest opinion. And you may not agree with it. I just try to attach a certain amount of logic to it that tries to fly above all the political fray. It's so very hard in today's world, I think Mark would agree with this, to have a conversation with somebody where you don't start bumping into walls that are political or talking points or things like that. I try to keep an open mind, everybody. I don't outright hate the President of the United States. I just think he's a little crazy sometimes and does weird things. I think he does it for effect most of the time, to be honest with you. I think he does it for effect, and it's very well placed.
Mark, do that face again.
And done well.
Go
ahead.
There it is.
Mark's great face. He doesn't mean that, folks. He probably agrees with what I'm saying. It's just that he's not my cup of tea. That's all. And I don't say he doesn't have the right. This is the country is supposed to allow some people that won the election to have the right to do what they think is correct, unless they cross that line. And one of the lines is this so-called censorship of Jimmy Kimmel. All right, maybe we talked enough about that, but I had to get my 2 cents in there, and I'm glad you guys talked about it too. And, Alex, you had to have a special amount of patience because you're coming from a different country, but maybe you have a different perspective on this, being the next door neighbor to the United States, that big, loud, boisterous country that down south of you. I mean, we don't get the kind of noise from Mexico, so why should you put up with it from the United States? I commend you for your patience and your commentary. I think you're being very good about this.
I don't, it's not like I have to try very hard because all this stuff is in the news and everybody's talking about it, right? So I find it very fascinating, and also I'm deeply concerned too about what's going on with this. So you know what? Look, I'm trying to be, I'm approaching this from a cautiously optimistic standpoint. So we'll see what happens. If we start seeing a lot of other shows canceled for similar reasons, I think that's going to indicate pretty clearly that there's something bigger going on. And look, I think the last thing I will say is this, that we need to have a spine to stand up for people, for freedom, not only just freedom of speech, but freedom of expression. Right. And I think that if we just kind of go quietly, then we're going to find that our freedoms are just getting eroded, and little by little, chipped away little by little. And then suddenly, next thing you know, it's not a democracy anymore. It's a dictatorship, a true dictatorship. And that's a hellhole nightmare that I do not want to be alive to see.
Well spoken by our friend from the north in Canada. I agree 100%, is that you're just as much a party to things if we lose our freedom of speech and you didn't say anything about it, then you're just as guilty of allowing that to happen by not saying anything than you were if you did and you got a little bit of heat from everybody. So vive la différence. People, feel free to jump in. Feel free to use our Makana, by the way, to get your 2 cents in there, because that's what this is. This is all about it. I am the last angry DJ, so I'm going to exert my angriness to wherever subject happens to be one that deserves some attention. So if we're finished with that particular subject, we've had our say on the matter. I'm sure a lot of other people have had their say during the week that this all happened. We're going to watch it carefully. We're going to see what happens next. And I agree with Mark. I think some places are going to say late night TV is an expense we can't afford to have anymore. And our affiliates agree. Then they're going to go. That's one reason. That's not censorship. That's just business. It's the way it works. So we'll see how that all goes. So we do have a number of other things that we didn't get to a couple of weeks ago that we wanted to talk about. I don't have the rundown right in front of me. So, Alex, do you have any? We have a list of things we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So
there was one topic that had to do with apparently Mitch has been dealing with HDMI problems. So Mitch, you got some tech issues?
Yeah. Let me make it real simple. Just because it has HDMI stamped on the back of that equipment that you're hooking up or on the cable that you bought doesn't mean that it's going to work, because there are a number of HDMI standards out there that make them incompatible between machines. That irritates me that they aren't specific about that. I think the last big bump in HDMI was HDMI 2.x, whatever the thing is. It really relates to how fast it is, how much data can be pushed over it, how fast it can get from one thing to another. And I think there's version 3.0 that's coming out very soon, where it's going to triple. I think HDMI it's stuck at 40 gigabytes. Alex, you're a tech guy.
Yeah, you can do. They're past the HDMI 2.1 spec now, and I can't remember exactly the bandwidth, but it is. You can do 8K 60, I think now, at least in the current spec, and I think they're working to get. The problem is to get 8K resolution at 120 hertz refresh rate. That takes a lot of processing. And there is an excessive, I think you can get 120 now, but there's a degrade in the image quality that you're getting. So the newer standards, they're chipping away at this, trying to figure out ways that they can really unlock that full pipeline to give you 8K 120. But the reality is the content just isn't there. Where's the 8K 120 frame rates per second? It doesn't really exist, right? I mean, maybe I would say this. Sports, live, anything sports concerts at 4K 120. Now that is something to see, because that experience is totally different. It really makes you feel like you're actually there. 8K, I couldn't give a shit about. I really couldn't. Yeah,
the 120 that Alex is referring to is the refresh rate, how fast it's refreshing. We're right now probably at 30. And maybe it's been encoded up to be above that. But I can push out 60 with my camera, maybe 120 if my ATEM would support it, but it's not. It's going to cut it down. And I just saw some news item that there's a upgrade coming from Zoom if it hasn't already made it here.
There is December
120 as a refresh rate. And that's pretty spectacular because it means that things are going to be smoother and neater. But for a talking head
it's not 120. Hold on, I want to jump in. It's not 120. They're going to allow you to do up to 60 frame rates per second. However, for content sharing, which probably means screen sharing, you'll be able to do up to 4K resolution at that frame rate, but not 120.
That's why you're the tech whiz that you are. So if we doubled the refresh rate of our show right now, if it's just my lips moving like a Clutch Cargo cartoon, you're not going to see huge, differences in the quality of our show. But if I was waving my hands around like this, constantly during the show,
well, maybe you should do that more, Mitch. We should all. I'll put us all in the shots.
Pull my hair out, put us all on camera, making funny faces.
I'm going to do the Batusi dance.
Yeah. So if you see the Batusi, right from the TV show, by the way,
that's right.
If you see people jittering on the screen, it could be any number of things, and it may not even be the refresh rate. It may just simply be they got a shitty internet connection or something.
Mark, did you want to add something?
Well, I was just going to run. Here are the specs. HDMI 1.0 came out in 2002. Maximum bandwidth 4.95 gigabits per second. It could do a maximum data rate of 3.96 gigabits per second. It could do 1080p at 60 hertz at 8-bit color. HDMI 1.3 and 1.4 came out in 2006 and then 2009, 10.2 gigabits per second. Maximum data transfer rate of 8.16. It could do 4K 30, deep color 30, 36, 48-bit, HDMI Ethernet, blah, blah, blah. HDMI 2.0 and 2.B was 18 gigabits a second, which could do 4K 60 and 8-bit 444, 10-bit 422. HDMI 2.1 2017, 48 gigabits a second. Actual data.
And that's
rate,
what most TVs
42.6.
have now, I think, is 2.1.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's pretty much it.
It can do 8K 60, 4K 120, dynamic HDR formats, Dolby.
That's all you need. 4K 120. You don't need more than that, really.
No, I'm not saying you do, because I don't think there's any 8K TVs that are.
They will always
priced.
be increasing the numbers to saying that more is better. It isn't necessarily better. I don't know why we need more than 4K. I just don't think that the human eye from 15 feet away looking at a TV screen is going to see gigantic differences in the screen quality from going from 4K at a decent refresh rate to 8K. It's hardly noticeable. So that's my opinion. That necessarily have to be how you. My eyes are getting older, by the way, as are my ears. So maybe I'm not a good reference for it.
And 2.1A just came out in 2022, same speeds, but it added source-based tone mapping (SBTM) for better
they had a lot of weird things like there was a foldback channel where you could get audio back up the same thing that used to be an output. You could receive audio.
That's
from
ARC,
your monitor.
HDMI ARC.
Yeah, and that's a nice little addition. As long as you get the bandwidth to support those things, that's kind of cool. My other bitch about HDMI, other than the constantly changing references of what version it is, whatever 3.0 or whatever, is that not all HDMI cables that you buy that say they are good for 4K are going to work. They just flat out won't work. I've had this experiment where I bought cables before. Certain cameras, for example, like Sony cameras, believe it or not, just don't like certain brands of HDMI. They claim that they're passing 4K won't work. You just plug them in, and just don't work. They just flat out don't work. No warning. No.
So you have to be really careful with this because a lot of cables are not actually certified. You got to look for the badge on it. So there's certain brands that I buy that actually have the HDMI certification sticker on it. Those tend to be a lot more reliable. And I find I've actually discovered this through another YouTuber that I trust that does a lot of home theater reviews. There's a brand, you can find this on Amazon. It's called Zeskit, Zeskit. They actually have really good quality braided HDMI 2.1 certified cables that are built incredibly well within a very good tolerance, and I've never had one of their cables fail on me.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
Go
the
ahead,
other
Martin.
thing you have to watch out for with the HDMIs is sometimes each end is different. So you have a source end and a display end.
Oh yeah, they're
direction they need to go
directional.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've got an
that's true.
Audio Quest HDMI cable that has the little arrow on it saying this is the source, and then the other one says that is the receiving end. Yeah, you got to be careful.
And the
with that.
irony of all this is that most people don't buy it because they know the specs or even understand them. They buy it because of the price. And they say, well, that says 4K, that's got to be good. And I like this because I'm using this one because it's half the price of the Zescom or whatever it was you mentioned, Alex. And that is a decision they made based on price, which is not the best, certification you use. I use these Pearl, whatever the heck they are, that I get from B&H. When I found one that worked with my Sony camera and with my ATEM, I just stayed with them. So now I've got all of the same. And if I were to have problems with one out of all of these, I would say, well, that's a defective cable, as opposed to just one that's not manufactured the specifications. So be on the lookout. HDMI is not the stamp of approval by everybody. There are Chinese manufacturers that are doing things on the cheap that will duplicate that logo and that stamp, and it may not mean diddly squat. So I'm not saying that any particular company is doing that, but it is happening, and we do report it when we see it. So I know over in office hours, they're very quick to respond to bad cables, and they have a number of them that they like Alex just mentioned his favorite. I just try to buy my stuff from B&H because I know that they have a good return policy. So if it screws up, then that's where we're going with it.
And they're fast. They're fast to our part of the country. You can order something at 5 o'clock at night and get it the next day.
Yeah, that's like Sweetwater, why they're so good, because they're in the middle of the country. They can ship very quickly to pretty much anywhere because they're in the middle of the country. So you can get your stuff there real fast. So that's why I wear Sweetwater shirts and buy my stuff in there. But either way, whichever way you go. All right, let's move on to our next sequence of the program. We don't do it normally when we have a guest here, but Mitch's Beef of the Week. Brought to you by Arby's. Thank you much, Arby's, for that. I don't have the Arby's. I can put the Arby's logo up. Hold on just a second. Give me a second. I'll put it up there just so the Arby's people are happy. Da-da-da-da. Got that there. Push this here. Got that there. Over here. Arby's, thank you very much. Presenting the Beef of the Week. Yay! Brought to you by Arby's. We have the meats. I was just there. I got 2 giants. They had a BOGO special. And when they have that little app, they let you know on a daily basis whether or not you can get a 2-for-1 sandwich. You can't beat that deal. So go for it. I got a couple of beefs. I know that there was some on the list that I didn't have, but I'll start out with the one that really irritates me. Beef of the Week, plastic and paper straws. Why do we have to choose? What is the big deal with plastic versus paper? Now, I know that we're trying our best to be good stewards to our economy and our ecology, and try not to put any more plastic than they already have in our oceans. But I don't think one friggin' plastic straw is going to make a gigantic difference. How do you guys feel about this, or any comments coming in on Mukana about plastic versus paper? I'll first just say the plastic replacement straws that you get as a default method now, even from my friends at Arby's, they just get mushy in my mouth. I just don't like the taste of paper straws after a while. They just get kind of slurpy. Now,
poor Mitch.
Yeah, poor Mitch. But, when you're having a really nice Jamaica shake, I can't even say it right. There, I'm going to lose points on that. It's like you want to enjoy it as best you can, and you can't enjoy it unless you got a plastic straw in your mouth. Now, to Arby's credit, you can ask for one. So I asked for one, and I got it. So I solved it. Mark, how do you feel about plastic versus mushy, eco-friendly straws?
I decided not to use straws anymore. Just drink right out of the cup.
Why don't you just bust the glass bottle?
I don't like straws either.
When people, strain the glass through their teeth.
Do you know why I don't like straws? I'll tell you why.
All right, go ahead, Alex. You're up.
I'll tell you why I don't like straws, and then there's something incredibly awkward and just not a good look for a man to be trying to get his mouth onto the straw. It's especially when you miss and you're trying and you're just like, trying to get it in, and it's not good. It's embarrassing.
Are you saying it's just not manly enough? Is that what you're trying to say?
It's just not manly. It's like, I want to look cool, sit back there, sipping on the drink from the glass directly. That's how it should be, as far as I'm concerned. Not just.
So it's a matter of optics for you, not practicality.
It's purely optics for me. But I think seriously though, I think anything that we can do for the anything
I like
that
how
we
I
can
grabbed
do,
the channel when I.
anything we can do for the environment, I think that helps. Look, our landfills are full of plastic that is not breaking down. So I am fine with the minor inconvenience of a straw that is going to disintegrate in 15 minutes. So
okay,
there you go.
All right, so we've had our say. You can have your say by joining us on Mukana and getting your comments in there. All right, I'm going to jump around a little bit. My beef of the week. You reach a certain age, and one of my beefs is trying to keep my pants up. I don't know when it became an issue, but there's a point in time in your life where your pants just don't cooperate. You go up through life. You hear stories about old people losing their pants. It's not a big deal.
Where are we going
I'm
with
here
this?
to tell you, I've had my pants fall in public for various reasons that I won't go into.
Did it make Mitch? Did it make a funny noise like whoop?
No, but there was some kind of like soundtrack playing, like wah, wah, like that or something, or people would point and laugh. And I like when I'm not working or not going in public in any capacity, I wear sweatpants like I'm wearing right now. And for some reason, I've lost some weight recently, and the tie string that I have set at a certain tension level is not high enough. Although today I was walking my dog, and my dog has this, because he's young and he's very energetic, jumped up and tried to get something out of my pocket, and he pulled my pants down right in the lobby of the building. And
Oh
people
my God, that's a
tried
nightmare.
not to watch. Yeah, the dog jumps
I have
up,
nightmares
grabs
about
something.
that.
Grabs something in my pocket, pulls my pants down. The dog is oblivious to what he's done. And I'm standing there, and I'm not like immediately like trying to cover up, like I have anything to cover up. But I'm like standing there like this. Hey, this just happened. It's a thing. It's a real thing. So trying to keep your pants up in public is an issue. You guys have any issues with that? Have you had an episode yet? Are you not old enough?
I have pants that I have pants that are fairly form fitting, and I have a belt as well. So that even if a dog tugged on it, my pants are not coming down.
Now, here's part of the problem, Alex.
I have contingency plans.
Yeah, but you're not suffering from what happens when you get older. Your butt begins to shrink. So
I would never
used to
let
have
that
a
happen,
nice,
Mitch.
I used to have a nice curve there where my butt was. It now
I'm too
goes
obsessed
straight
with
down.
Fitness and health. It'll never happen. I'm telling you, when I'm
good luck to
70,
you.
I'm going to be just as trim and fit.
All right, I'll be
Is this
back if
show
I'm
about
still
radio?
alive.
I'll
Go ahead,
report.
Mark.
I'll report back in 30 years.
Is this show
Radio
about
is certainly
radio?
a good place to lose your pants. Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
What was that, Mark?
Is this show about radio?
Losing your pants? That's not a
Yeah.
legit.
That's
It's very visual. We're playing with everybody's visualizing me with no butt, losing my pants with my dog hanging from my
This is what
pocket.
this is what we do between what's the term? Set stops.
Is that what they call it? Okay, stop
Isn't
sets.
it called
I think
set
is what
stops?
they're
Like, where you
Stop sets.
talk for 30. Yeah. Anyways, this is the horse shit that we as DJs come up with to talk to the audience to keep them
Okay.
interested.
All right, another thing that's a beef. Yeah, thanks. For some reason, something that happens to me that's embarrassing is very entertaining to the rest of the crew here. I just don't know why, but you guys seem very entertained that I mentioned pants down. So what are you going to do? All right, next subject. This is a radio thing. People always ask me, what happens, in the studio back when you used to have to play records and that you produced a show by yourself. You're queuing records up, you're playing tapes. You're like a man with 1,000 arms going in a million different directions. Thing that used to really tick me off were what I called record problems, and they were panic fades, like songs that seemed like they were fading and then turned out not to be fading. An example would be Suspicious Minds. Had the ending where it does a long, slow fade, and then all of a sudden it comes back up again. So let's say you're halfway down the hallway and you're listening to the monitor in the studio, and all of a sudden you hear what appears to be the song ending, and you're not there to hit the next record and have everything ready, and it's crazy. Or worse yet, you're in the men's room and you come dashing out of the room with the door open, with toilet paper flying behind you, and you find out it's a panic fade in a song by Elvis Presley. So look out for Suspicious Minds. It was a horrible thing. And then another thing related to records that used to drive us crazy, panic endings. Now, remember, when you're sitting in the studio, you don't necessarily know the song well enough to know exactly when it's going to end if it has a very fast, cold ending. And the worst one for me was the old Chicago dialogue. I think it was Dialogue 1, when they're going, "We can make it happen. Yeah, yeah, we can make it happen." And then they do that like 3 or 4 verses. And the last one, they go, "We can make it happen." That's how it ends, just like that, in the middle of the word happen. And the only way you can tell the song's getting close is that you got to lean over and look at the record player, and you're watching the needle on the record getting closer and closer to the end, because you may not know exactly where you are in that song. So that one used to catch me all the time. And I know any other radio person, if they happen to watch this, hear me talking about the panic cold ending in Dialogue by Chicago. That was one where you had to be ready on the button, because the song would end, boom. You have to anticipate that enough to hit the next record, and the record doesn't start immediately like it does on a song file. You had like a half a turn of the turntable to come up to speed. So you had to be right on the. Don't you guys find this fearsome at all? Don't you have any like fears for me or considerations?
I'm getting anxiety.
I want some anxiety.
Secondhand anxiety just by listening to you. Just because I, as someone who plays vinyl, I mean, I love the sound of music playing it on a record, but I've never had that anxiety of having to use that on a radio station, having to make sure that things are cued properly and that you're
continuity.
Ending when you need to. Yeah, like that would be incredibly difficult. That's a skill. That takes awareness, and you got to be on top of it. So I commend you for.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we've had this conversation where you've said, Mitch, you don't allow anything to fit in edgewise in a conversation or continuity of the show. You don't allow any breathing room. That's the fear of dead air that was pounded into me when I was on the radio, including cold endings and songs. You couldn't go to "We Can Make It Happen." 1380 Whams. You know, they wouldn't allow that. It would have to be "We Can Make It Happen." 1380 Whams. You had to have continuity there. So I still have nightmares about that. That's part of my radio PTSD that keeps sneaking up on me. The other thing that we're talking about, bad audio in meetings. Yeah, that's a beef. Why don't people get it? And I know, Alex, it's not just a radio thing, but anytime you have an interview and you have people come on, why do they accept the quality of the sound going into their laptop or one of those stupid soundbar microphones that uses some kind of phased audio? Why aren't they using something like a microphone?
This is one of those things where, and I know Mark has dealt with this too, but you know that famous thing that they always like to say, "Well, I do this all the time, and no one's ever said anything," because no one has the guts to tell you that they, you know, it's bad. I mean, Mark, you must see this all the time.
We get this all the time. Yeah. On Fridays when we stream our shows, and we get people that are on network TV that come in through whatever they're using, but it's all pretty much the same thing. They come in. We had this guy who was a pretty well-known producer for, you know, a lot of well-known things. Came in, no lights, using a microphone on a laptop.
What, dark room?
Yeah, it was just
How do you do that?
He was a great guest, but you couldn't see. You could barely see him. You could barely hear him. And he's next to these 2 other people that do this all the time, are really well lit, sounded great. They had mics, and it's just like, I mean, I'm sitting there typing notes in the screen that he can see, saying, "Speak up. We can't hear you. You got to project."
Have you guys ever worked with somebody that had really bad body odor, and you had to say something to them? Now, in a sense, it's the same thing. You have to overcome that fear of, like, am I going to embarrass them?
I had to do that.
Yeah, how do you do that?
A friend of mine, okay, look, not even a coworker, a friend of mine. It was so bad. Every time, if I would pick him up in my car, the moment he would get out of my car, that seat stunk so bad, and I had to bring up figure out a way to get the courage to tell him. And I finally just said, look, I'm telling you this, and I don't want you to feel embarrassed. I'm telling you this privately before you get embarrassed, before in a public scenario, someone that is a stranger, someone that is not your friend tells you, you are clearly not showering, you are not doing your laundry often enough. Because and then he made this he tried to make this excuse oh well, I think it's this old jacket that I have that I haven't washed. And dude, it's not your jacket.
It's a current odor.
This is a body odor thing, and you're not doing your laundry. And I was grilling him tell me how often are you showering every day? Are you changing your it was I'm dude, whatever you're doing is not working. You need to fix it. And he did, but it took me to tell him that.
Yeah, and you had to overcome a certain amount of trepidation I was
really embarrassed
should I do it?
Yeah,
I think I should, because they're friends of mine enough. And I've this is the worst answer I've ever gotten for it, is that the person would say, "I don't smell bad. Is that annoying you? I smell fine." And I'll usually say, "Well, do your farts smell good to you too? Do you find that they're much better coming from you than from somebody else?" It's not even just the quality of the odor; it's the fact that it's coming from you, and I don't choose to sit next to you and inhale your fragrance, wherever it's coming from. So you got to say something. So anyhow, maybe a bad microphone with bad audio is almost the same. Maybe not quite as embarrassing. And radio certainly doesn't respond to bad smells, but. Come on, Mark, help me out.
Hey, the next version of Zoom will have odor.
Smell it.
Yes.
A smell meter,
scratch and sniff.
You know who said this, and they said it very well, was Mike Rowe. I don't know if you've ever seen Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe. He's a very interesting guy, and he has his own podcast. He points out that when you smell a bad odor, no matter where it's coming from, it could be chemical, it could be decaying matter, it could be somebody's farts, is that when you smell it, the molecules are going into your system and into your bloodstream. So when you smell something bad, it's in your body. It's in your bloodstream. It truly is. I mean, if we had a doctor who could explain how that works. But Mike Rowe did a very good job of explaining that. So there's another reason to be assaulted. It's not the bad idea. It's that, your odor is in my body now. I don't like that. So good one. And same thing with audio. I think bad audio is insults your ears. You can't stand it. It drives me crazy. And I think that'll wrap it up for Mitch's Beef of the Week, unless you guys have a beef that you want to bring up.
I don't have a beef, Alex, but I wanted to just make mention of a media pick, because this is kind of a new
I've got one too for you. Go ahead.
We do this at the end of the show, because I just wanted to make mention that our friend of the show, Nigel Dessau, who many of you probably know from another show called Office Hours Global, has written a book. I've been enjoying his Substack writing, but he wrote this book called The Lies That Hold Us Back, Unmasking Self-Deception to Unlock Growth and Career Resilience. And it's not a long read. I'm not done yet, but I'm really enjoying it, and it's actually helping me and making me more self-aware about my patterns and the way I think. So I just wanted to give him
Nigel's a cool guy. I never expected to see that kind of writing. I did look at some of the reviews of it. Never expected to hear that from him, because you just don't expect him to be a great writer. But he just has a way of putting sentences together and making points that is very entertaining. Highly recommend the book. That's a good example of a media alert. I have a media alert for the gang here, and then we'll go back to Alex, because I want to ask you about something that you brought up earlier. But media alert on Netflix, TV series that just popped on. It's a short series of about 8 episodes. It's called Black Rabbit, with Jude Law and Jason Bateman. Wow, what a great story that they're telling, and it's well done. So if you have Netflix, and just about everybody on the planet does, it's there. As far as Superman breaking on Warner, a friend of mine said, this is not the Superman I grew up with. I think it's okay as the Superman show goes, but it's not what you're going to expect. It's not a typical Superman movie that you've come to expect. Alex, you've seen it. Do you have an opinion about it one way or the other?
Yes, I do have an opinion, and I saw James Gunn's. I went in very hopeful, thinking that James Gunn would do a movie that really well represents who Superman truly is as a character. Now, I'll say this. Superman is a very, very old character that's been around since what, the 40s, 30s, late 30s, 40s?
Yeah, way back.
He's gone through many iterations, and obviously there have been many famous authors, the Grant Morrisons of the world, and plenty of other writers over. I'd say probably the most influential run of Superman has been it's been recent, in the last 30 years, since the 90s. But, people have different interpretations. There have been slightly different variations on that character. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was entertaining, but I didn't think it was fantastic. And I actually still prefer, for all its faults that people complain about, Zack Snyder's version of the Man of Steel, that Superman effectively let far too much destruction happen, that Superman's not supposed to kill and this and that. I actually preferred Man of Steel. I thought there were many aspects of James Gunn's Superman movie that just didn't work for me, starting with the relationship that he had with Lois that I just didn't really buy. And there's more. I have a lot more to say on that, this isn't really a show that's about movie reviews, but it didn't quite really work for me. I didn't think it was a bad movie. It just didn't quite work as well as I was hoping it would. I thought that I guess they kind of want to they're working their way up to having the Justice League, but I didn't really like the version of Green Lantern that they had in this movie. And that version I know there have been many different versions of Green they have, there's Hal Jordan and there's Guy Gardner, and there are different people that play the Green Lantern, because there's the Green Lantern Corps, which is a lot of different people that have those powers.
Black, Green Lantern.
The thing is that Guy Gardner, even in the comics, he's not he's kind of not a great guy. And so it's hard to really connect with that guy as a character. So it just didn't really work for me.
Bad hair. But I agree with you essentially that James Gunn, I like his movie storytelling. I don't think he stayed true to canon on Superman, but I found it entertaining. It was fun to watch, but I had that little voice in me saying, would Superman that I've grown up with do that? Or would he say that? Or would he, find that he, his reaction to certain things were, and breaking a little bit of the canon. Oh, the glasses gag is the thing. We kind of always lived with that idea. Now there's psycho glasses or whatever. When he's Clark Kent,
I think part of the problem is that our expectations, Mitch, are that Superman is still very much stuck in the mindset of that golden age of comics from the 30s and 40s. So it's like, and I will always quote this, and I think it was in Bryan Singer's version of Superman Returns, where he says, I stand for truth, justice, and the American way, and that alone, that sentence, tells you kind of like what Superman is supposed to be about. But I think he's still sort of, we have these expectations that he's kind of stuck in this golden age of 1940s, culture and lifestyle. And it's just like, it's hard to break away from that, right?
Yeah. Is it worth watching? Sure. Would you compare it to the other Superman? It's like, it's a different beast. And I think George Reeves, who played the character I grew up with on TV, he would be rolling in his grave if he saw the current, attitude and fun that was going on. And then Supergirl making a cameo at the end, kind of
I thought that was
add-on.
terrible.
It was just, wow, why did they throw that in there and why?
Mark, did you see the movie? Did you watch?
No.
Okay. We should have warned there's some spoilers in there. So we're going.
So let me go through some comments as we...
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So Jerry, friend of show, Jerry Hoyle says, Mitch, one word, suspenders. And I think we ought to get merch. We ought to get suspenders that say The Last Angry DJ.
I'll look like
That's
Larry
a great
King.
idea. I love that.
Or King.
Yeah.
I'll look like Larry King.
Well, how do you feel about that? Well, whatever. Boston, you're on the line.
Yeah. Jerry also says, thumbs up for Black Rabbit, and he just watched the movie Relay and highly recommends it.
I've never heard of Relay out. Jerry, that is a good recommendation. I will check it out.
And Alex and I both love Alien Earth. It gets better every time. I didn't think that was possible. It's better every time, every episode. So can't wait for next Tuesday. What else, Mark?
That's all I got here.
That's it. All right. So use your Makana. Don't make us come find you. We will find you. We know who you are. But use Makana or we're going to do something about it. We're going to incentivize you. We're going to give out Arby's coupons, whatever it takes to get you to ask your questions. And Alex is not going to allow us to turn back YouTube chat. So, what are you going to do? I can complain, but Alex has the final word on that. So there you go. So, Alex, what other movies have you ordered out? I think you had looked at what was it? The computer takes over the world thing, the Forbin project.
I saw the Colossus, the Forbin project.
That's it.
I watch a lot of movies on a weekly basis, so I've got a whole pile stacking up here that I still haven't seen, that I like actual discs that I purchased that I still haven't seen. Like I bought, I'm very much looking forward to seeing The Brutalist, which I hear really good things about.
Oh, okay.
I got to carve out 4 hours to watch that movie because it's a long movie.
There you go.
I've got a whole stack of stuff. I'll report back at some point.
Mark, you got any movies you're trying to find time to look at on
No
TV?
time for movies.
No time.
He's running. He's
radio.
got a business to run. He's got a radio station.
Free radio.
He's a busy guy.
Listen to it.
Yeah,
have you ever been shocked by something you've heard on your very own radio station? I mean, you own the station. Yeah, you got a syndication and agreement with it.
I don't know if you can actually answer that.
You ever turn the radio on and go, "What? That's my station saying that. Turn it off."
No comment.
Cut them off.
No comments. It's a smart answer there. That's a smart answer.
Exactly. All right, that wraps up another great show. Thank you so much. I know I look a little darker. It's because I haven't updated my new iPhone 16 Pro, whatever the heck this is. It doesn't include the remote control for my lighting in here, so I had to wing it. Just turned it on and hit the dial, and that it is where it is. So what are you going to do? Alex, how do people reach out? Yeah, marvelous. Alex, how did they reach out and want to talk to us if they have some way of doing it? Because remember, we know who you are.
Thanks, Mitch. You can reach out to us numerous ways. If you like the show, if you've been tuning in, we really appreciate that. This show live streams every 2 p.m., every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard. That's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if I got that right. If you don't want to watch that live, you can watch it on demand anytime. Just like and subscribe on YouTube to make sure that you get that episode dropping in your subscription feed every single week. And of course, if you just want to listen to the audio version, this podcast, we usually release it the next day on all podcast platforms. So wherever you like to listen to podcasts, we're available pretty much everywhere. Apple, Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify. You can ask your Amazon Alexa device. We're available on iHeartRadio, Pandora. We're pretty much everywhere that you need podcasts. So we would appreciate that. And also, if you are an Apple user, just drop a review. Let us know. You can give us a 4 or 5 star, whatever you think we deserve for the show. And if you do leave a review, we will read your comment on the show. So thank you very much for doing that. You can also support this show monetarily by going to patreon.com/TheLastAngryDJ. That's patreon.com/TheLastAngryDJ. Become a coffee supporter at a paltry $2 a month. We would sincerely appreciate that. And of course, we would like to also give a shout out to Boink Software for making this show possible. We wouldn't be able to do this show at the level of quality that you're seeing it live streaming in 4K without Mimo Live. That is the application we're using to do the show. So if you're interested in production, you want to upgrade your show, if you are just using Zoom to live stream, maybe you're using OBS that seems to occasionally crash on you, you should really, really look at Mimo Live. It's an incredibly powerful application.
You like it better than vMix? You think it's better than vMix?
I haven't used vMix, so I've got no comment there.
All right, so far we like it the best, and we do thank them for doing that. And if you want to thank us, another way to do it is just send us baked goods. We'd appreciate, if you're this side of the border from Canada and the United States, I guess you could send some kind of maple-related product up to Alex there, some back bacon, maple syrup, something, pancakes, flapjacks. What do you call them up there? A toque.
Yeah.
Get him a new toque. He's got that old toque on. And down here, I love chocolate chip cookies. So send them to care of the show. That'd be great. Mark?
I think you should send them to ask.thelastangrydj.com.
That's right.
Figure that out. Yeah, just send them.
What did you learn today?
What did I learn today?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. I learned that
Apparently nothing.
Apparently silence is beautiful.
Okay, so I should have just shut up. Next week, we have a guest that'll be here. His name is Gary Berkowitz. He's a returning champion. He is an expert on consulting various radio formats, particularly adult contemporary, AC. I'm not sure what Alex is doing. I'm going to ask him not to do that again, please. It's very distracting. He's doing some kind of rock and roll move there while I'm trying to talk. But anyhow, Gary will be here. What is that? Some kind of gang sign he's using.
No,
see, I can't change the
okay,
channel,
first
so.
of all, you don't know this. It's the devil horns.
All right.
And
so,
actually, originally, this, by the way, if you want to know the
Longhorn,
history
Texas.
between the devil horns, this is actually an old Italian superstition that would ward off the evil eye, and heavy metal people have adopted this.
Oh, that's great. I had a guy who used to live above me, and he hated me, Italian guy. He used to call me and complain about the music I played. And one day I was sitting in the lobby, and he was behind me doing this. So I don't know what that meant exactly, what he was doing. But a week later, I had a colon issue where I had to have a partial colectomy done. So apparently it works. So I didn't just do that to you. That was just me demonstrating what he was doing. Anyhow, I'd forget it. Cut that out of the show if you can. Anyhow, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. It's been a great show. We appreciate your commentary. We do appreciate it coming in via Makana. It's the best way to do it. I think you can comment on the show on YouTube, I believe. You just can't chat during the live.
You still can drop comments.
Yeah, so comments are acceptable means of communication. So that and baked goods will make us very happy. So thanks very much for being here. We had a fun show today. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Swagger down the street with your red lips and funky beat. You better hold your head up to the sky. I'm gonna roll with you till the day I die.